Good afternoon, Prynhawn da members. Diolch am ymuno ni Prynhawn 'ma. Thank you for attending the meeting of the Education, Wellbeing, Skills Scrutiny Committee. And I'm Councillor Rebecca Phillips and I'll be chairing the meeting this afternoon. Please ensure that your phones are switched to silent for the duration of the meeting. In addition, when asked to raise your hand, if members who are virtually viewing this meeting could raise your hand electronically, and for members in the chamber, just raise your hand, please. Have we received any apologies?
We've had apologies from Councillor Rydian Mason, Chair.
Diolch. For the purpose of declarations, I would like to confirm that we will scrutinise items 7, 9 and 10 on the Cabinet Board papers. I'll now move on with the declarations. Councillor Reynolds, you've got an interest to declare, I understand?
Yes, I need to declare an interest for agenda item 7 as Carnarvon Mardy, of which I'm chair of the Board of Trustees, is mentioned on that item. Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr. If any other members have declarations in relation to any of the reports in the agenda, can you please indicate now? No, I don't see any. Okay, thank you. So Alison will forward the electronic version of the form for you to complete, Councillor Reynolds. Diolch yn fawr. Moving on with the agenda, you will see the minutes attached, pages 3 and 6 of your agenda pack. If you feel that these are accurate record of the meeting, can I please have a proposer and a seconder? Councillor Rees, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask on item 7 of those minutes, the Band C schools, have the exploratory talks been undertaken with Welsh Government officials at the moment? It's on page 4, Chair.
Is the scrutiny minutes we're looking at, Councillor Rees? Are you?
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the
Cabinet Board, was it?
No, I'm looking at the Cabinet Board minutes on the. I thought that we were looking at the previous meeting.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It's just the scrutiny minutes for now, Councillor Rees. Thank you.
Okay.
Do we have a proposal and a seconder for the minutes, please?
I'm happy to propose, Chair.
Diolch. And a seconder, please?
Happy to second, Chair.
Lovely. Diolch yn fawr. Those minutes have been approved. So moving on with the agenda. Agenda item 4 is the COVID-19 update. So I'll now call the Officer Chris Millis to provide us with a verbal update, please. Diolch.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be brief on the verbal update and the detail will be then contained in the January report. So going back to September 22, we did think on our return to school that the restrictions and the worst was behind us. However, little did we know that alongside the recovery stage from a reaction stage, we would then be faced with petrol crisis, energy crisis, food, outbreak of war in Ukraine. And on top of that now, not only is COVID still with us in schools, but we also have strep A and scarlet fever that's come into the schools as well. Speaking with leaders, they are still concerned about the attendance, the mental health, the well-being of young people and their staff. They have discussed that the children, through different learning experiences while they were excluded from school because of COVID, they're still experiencing a sustained literacy and numeracy deficit. They are now supporting pupils more than ever in their well-being. They're managing their anxieties and getting them back to school and the family that goes with that child. And of course, managing anxieties and staff expectations are also a challenge. On top of that, we also have the moving at pace curriculum reform, ALN reform, and anything else that is coming from us from Welsh Government. Constant changes have happened over the last few years to do with policy, restrictions, parental pressure, guidance, media coverage. It is quite a tightrope for our school leaders at the moment. There are some benefits and have been some benefits. So, for example, the development of technology. we now have synchronous and asynchronous learning. Synchronous being when the teacher is online with the pupils at the same time, learning together. And asynchronous is when a teacher posts something online for a young person to learn at their own pace. We've had changes to the structure of the school day when it comes to staggered lunchtimes, the direction of travel around school, reducing pinch points. And of course, many schools are saying that their relationship with families has improved because of the support that they've given them. Currently, we do not record COVID as a specific attendance issue. We did up until July, and Welsh Government say we don't have to anymore. But if members have anything specific that they'd like us to go through or include in the written report, I'm happy to take that through the chair.
Diolch, Chris. Thank you very much. We did have some discussion on this on pre-scrutiny, and I think what we're really looking for is, the ongoing impact and how we're managing that as well. Councillor Reynolds, did you want to come in with the comments that you made in pre-scrutiny?
Thank you, Chair. I was just, concerns obviously about the mental health, and you mentioned the impact and the stresses and the mental health on teachers as well as pupils, and how that was impacting on the service, and information around that. Really, we've got a very good report in this agenda for information on the counselling aspects, but literally what the concerns were, and I concur with the suggestion that's going to be made from another councillor, I believe.
Diolch, Councillor Reynolds. Councillor Caroline Lewis, please.
Oh, hi. Yes, my question was in regards to page 40, section 6, where you mentioned children struggling to reconnect since the pandemic, with anxiety, mental health, wellbeing issues.
Sorry to interrupt,
Yes.
Caroline. It's just about the COVID-19, the update, and what we were looking for the written update as well.
Right, okay.
You discussed in pre-scrutiny about the impact on mental health and how we were addressing that, I think.
Okay, yes, my concern was, during the pandemic, there was a range of styles of teaching, and not every school was consistent. So I'm not surprised there's concerns regarding mental health and well-being at the moment. For those children that didn't see their staff members for over 18 months, I've got huge concerns of what happened during COVID, and the strategy from IT. We discussed the different platforms schools used, and I personally feel NPT should have had a whole approach, and every school should have used the same platform for consistency for pupils moving to different schools, and for parents. It must have been difficult to teach at home with different platforms of work coming through. We also discussed would there be workshops or any online support to parents to help their children with existing issues regarding school attendance and anxiety? Could you do workshops within the community, or any sort of helpful tips and hints of what they can do to best support their pupils? And are staff in schools having, or is there extra money for staff to work on these concerns in schools?
Diolch, Caroline. Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Carpenter, did you want to come in? I know you made some additional comments to Caroline's comments there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Sorry I was late, having trouble connecting. Yes, just to back up on what Councillor Lewis has already said, really, I think that there is a definite need for workshops for both parents and for pupils. Some are still struggling, some are still at home looking at the figures, and I think if something was done, rather than counselling, to give parents the feel that there wasn't that stigma of counselling, but it was a help that was reaching out to them in their need of support at what is still a difficult time for many others. I've seen my own son, who's a lecturer in Neath College, and the stress on staff members having to do online teaching has been quite great. A lot of people get the wrong idea of it and think that it was an easy number for staff not having to go into schools. And I know that in the case of my own family, they were only too glad to get back to school and to teach face-to-face with children and young people. That's all. Thank you.
Diolch, thank you. Do any other members have any comments on the COVID-19 update? No, I don't see any. Thank you, Chris, for providing us with a verbal update. I think what we want maybe going forward is just to, for the issues that we've recognised, what we're doing about them and the ongoing impact, any lessons learned, maybe, best practice in maybe particular schools and what we're going to do moving forward. But thank you, diolch yn fawr for that. Thank you. Okay, so we'll now move to the Cabinet Board agenda for pre-scrutiny. As previously mentioned, we've decided to scrutinise items 7, 9 and 10. So moving on to item 7. Sorry, bear with me. And this is it's a matter for monitoring, but it's the quarterly performance management data 2022-23. Is it Chris? You? Yeah.
Yes, Chair. You have the information in front of you, which is the Q2 report. I'm happy to take any questions, or if some of the questions are relating to other areas, officers are online to answer the questions.
Lovely, thank you, Chris. I do have an indication from Councillor Dan Thomas on this matter. Thank you.
It's in relation to Wellbeing Objective 4. Q2 2021-22 was 31. Q2 for 2022-23 was 22. The target is 45. So I just want to know why we're so low behind on that target.
Sorry, can you give me the reference number of the one that you're looking at, please?
On page 22 of the report. 2.4 SRP Wellbeing Objective 4 Jobs and Skills. Communities for Work.
I have it, thank you. So it's the one that you're looking at with the figures 31, 22, 45?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the reprofiling, Councillor, that it did it to us. That's the one, when it's been reprofiled, it's been much harder to reach out. And then there's a reduction to European funding as well. It is going to right itself. We are reaching out with a new shared prosperity fund, which is going to replace the European funding. And we're hoping to pick those numbers back up. It's basically being able to access people post-COVID. That's been the biggest thing, and having people to come in or us to outreach in some of the centres we've got. It has been quite difficult to reach certain people, hard to reach families that don't want to engage. But we are going to try different tactics with that. Having a central place, having outreach, phone calls, visits, that sort of thing. But you are right, it's below what we would have liked to have been.
Thank you.
Are you happy with that, Councillor Thomas?
Yeah, happy.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Reynolds, please.
Thank you. I'm aware from being involved with the centre where there is outreach now already since COVID that it's hard to get people to come in, but it's great to see it happening. I wanted to just ask and mention positively the ELL 726 item, because I'm assuming that's the unit that Paul Hinder runs, and really pleased to see the amount that's being raised over and above the target, and wanted just to commend the work of that unit going forward and hope that that will continue, and that we'll be looking for various ways in which that unit can carry on helping to raise money in our communities as it has been for the last number of years. So just wanted that information to go forward, and great to see as well on the lower down that page that the wedding numbers at the Orangery are keeping up, and we're seeing positivity going forward there. So hopefully we'll see things much more back to normal with income generation and getting money in and out to communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Reynolds. Do you want to come back on that, Chris?
No, thank you for recognising Paul's work. He can certainly get lemon juice out of an apple, that's for sure. And we hope he continues to do so for a long time.
Thank you. Do any other members have questions on this item, please? Okay, the item is just for monitoring, so we move on with the agenda and on to agenda item 9, education safeguarding. I pass you over to Chris again. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to introduce our Senior Education Safeguarding Officer, Sam Jones. She's on remote learning.
Afternoon, members. Just want to say thank you for the opportunity to present this report this afternoon. It's an update on safeguarding within our schools across the region, and I'm happy to take any questions you have.
Thank you very much, Diolch. We have a question in the chamber from Marie Caddick, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. My question is page 37. I have a same one. Sorry, Chair. Just a minute. Item 16, please. You talk about a virtual training event to have taken place in November, and I'd like to know if it did take place and how you felt it went, and anything you can give me on that.
It did take place. It took place on the 28th of November. It was really well attended. I think we had just short of 50 in the end. I think we had 52 on the list, but a couple of people cancelled at the last minute. Yes. Really, really well received. A lot of schools have come back following that because we are looking to get some train the trainer out to schools, and the schools following the virtual event have come back and said they're very interested in taking that forward. There was lots of information provided. Better Futures from Bernardo's were absolutely excellent, and they provided that day free of charge, which we were very lucky about. But we have got funding now to run the Train the Trainer going forward.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that, Diolch yn fawr. Do we have any other questions on this item? No, I don't see any. Again, that was just for monitoring. So we move on with item 10 on the agenda, pupil attendance, and over to Chris again. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, I'd like to introduce Hayley Thomas, an officer that's going to be online.
Thank you, Chris. Yes, thank you everyone for the opportunity to present this report to members today. The report is an update on pupil attendance within Neath Talbot schools on any particular issues. I am happy to take any questions you may have in relation to pupil attendance at school.
Thank you. Diolch yn fawr. Councillor Reynolds, did you have a question on this item?
Yes, thank you. It's interesting report. There are, there are real challenges in this going forward. I am aware within my own community of people opting for homeschooling. In some cases my gut says, is this real homeschooling, or is this just a way of preventing having to get your kids to school? I worry about the quality of this, as I know some do. And I realise we've got very little ability to impact on this, and there is no register overall of how these children are schooled or what happens to them. However, I am aware there was a bill going through in England at one point, and looking at how they could start a mandatory register and have a little more control and oversight of homeschooling. And I wondered if there'd been any news on that, and whether there's any plans from Welsh Government to deal with this, because the only way, if there are concerns now, is to try and get it to the, if there's a possibility of social services taking a look. So it's problematic in my mind in some cases.
Yeah, just for you to be aware, Councillor Reynolds, I will be delivering a report in a few weeks' time in relation to elective home education on the Forward Works programme. But you are right, the numbers are increasing. There is still further draft going around with the new guidance that's coming out and the talk of the register, and also we're obviously devising forms also that's in preparation at the moment of looking into more detail of the work that's been delivered at home with parents and young people.
Thank you very much, Hayley. I'll look forward to your update.
Thank you.
Thank you, diolch. Councillor Peter Rees, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question on paragraph 9 of that report. How have we issued any penalty notices for parents for absence? And if so, how many? And I'm aware of the difficult times that parents are, having to face at this time. So I just wondered what consideration we are giving. Perhaps John can answer that.
I'm happy to answer, John,
Okay,
if you'd like to also. We have issued warning letters in relation to fixed penalty notices. We haven't issued any at the moment. We are looking around 20, but it is really a last resort. We are aware that families are coming back from a pandemic. Attendance, has been in and out really because obviously lockdowns and then blended learning. So we are aware of that completely. And so therefore we make sure we work to our welfare side of our roles and we engage with social services, child and adult mental health services, Mind, platform, anything that comes in as identified need first before we even consider an option of a fixed penalty notice.
But it's going to come a time when parents will have to be warned that they will face a penalty notice if they don't engage then with the help that's being provided. And that may be a warning to other parents who perhaps are keeping their children home for perhaps dubious reasons.
Yeah, John.
Thank you, Councillor Rees. You're absolutely right there. And that's the process that we're in at the moment, is warning the parents that they're at this, some of them are at this stage now. It's almost, we've exhausted all other options. We're giving you that final warning. We are about to restart the prosecution process through fixed penalties, through court action. The options are limited to us now, maybe because they don't want to engage with us, or you refuse to engage with us. We've tried all other interventions. But you're right to point out, we are in a cost of living crisis at the moment. Funding out there, finances out there are tight. I point you to paragraph 11 in the report, which acknowledges that. And it also reminds members that although fixed penalty notices are a punitive measure, without fixed penalty notices, before the system came in a couple of years ago, the only option left open to the council was to take parents straight to court. That then gave parents a criminal record, if proved, of course. And I know from other means, the starting point there for a fine isn't £60, which is what a fixed penalty notice is. You're looking at £400 to £500 to £600 in one go. It's not a £60. So I know we've had conversations. You and I've had many conversations over many years about fixed penalty notices.
Yeah.
And I understand members have a concern about issuing them. We do too. We share that concern. But I also acknowledge that having done an exercise and previously reported it to members, that there are some significant benefits from the fixed penalty notice system as well, where we've seen some substantial improvements in attendances where, and I won't use the word only, because only is £60 is a lot of money to some people, but it is a lot less than going through the court system where parents get a criminal record and potentially £500 of fine. So yeah, there is benefits on both ways, but as Hayley said, just to reassure you, last resort, and we are very, very mindful that the circumstances that we are riding at the moment before any of those notices are issued, that we are dotting I's, crossing T's, and making sure there are no other options.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Hayley. And I know the work that you both do, and it's it's commendable. So thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you all for that. It is reassuring to hear that from officers. I think we do have to take into account the anxieties of parents these days as well, with strep going round now as well. It seems to be something all the time. So parents do feel sometimes they do need to protect their children and keep them home. And, it's our role to kind of convince them otherwise, isn't it? So I do appreciate that that is the very last resort that we are taking as an authority. So diolch yn fawr, thank you for that. Does anybody else have any questions on that item? No, that item is for information only. So thank you, diolch yn fawr to all officers for your work on that. So moving on now with the Cabinet Board Scrutiny agenda. Agenda item 6, the Forward Work Programme. Unless any members have comments, this is for noting, but I understand that Councillor Reynolds, you have a comment to make on this? Thank you.
My comment is on the Scrutiny Forward Work Programme, sorry, which I assume we'll be going back to. Yeah, no, that's it. Councillor Reynolds, you can come in on that now. Thank you. Thank you. At the last meeting, it's minuted that we asked for an earlier update on the cost of living crisis. I note that our scrutiny meeting, our scrutiny forward look, that stayed in the same place, and I wondered, and no one's been back to us on it, so I wondered if officers could comment on that, please. And I also, I've got a couple of other points as well to make on that, and a new item I'd like to see go on the forward work. But if we could have an update on whether or not there's been consideration of moving the cost of living crisis and impact on schools, and what can be done about it, because I think given that there is an opportunity to actually impact on policy and gather ideas about how we can make things easier, and it would be good to have a debate on that rather than just having a report as to what it's done coming towards the end of the winter period. Thank you.
Are you happy to deal with that?
Yes, yeah, no problem, Chair. I thought it was put into the scrutiny programme for March, which is the second meeting. There isn't one in February, so January would obviously have the COVID update, and then March would have the cost of living. And by then as well, Councillor Reynolds, we'd have more information on the budget as well, which would be more prevalent to that meeting.
If I can come back in, I thank you, Chris. I understand what you're saying, but it's a view that says it's happening now, surely. I mean, we know that the costs have gone up massively for schools. We know that some schools are going to struggle. So by the time they get to March, they will already be struggling within this budget year. So it's that aspect of it that raises concerns for me, as well as looking going forward. I mean, it's on that basis we'll know possibly more about how we can deal with things going forward. But even if just minimal information, it would be good to know what feedback we are getting from schools on what they see the impact's going to be this winter to their budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Reynolds. I'll have a discussion with officers outside the meeting and feedback to you on that, if that's okay.
Thank you.
Do you have something else to ask? Thank you.
Yeah, it was brought up, last meeting, particularly to get in as early as possible in order to give time. So that's my concern. I wanted to see if we could add, given what we're seeing coming out in the press about Welsh medium and children and Welsh language use from the census, I wondered if it would be useful to have, knowing all the good work that was done with the WESP, and we see an increase in first language Welsh learners within the papers we've had today. So it doesn't quite tally. The media is telling us that Welsh medium and Welsh language skills are dropping amongst children. So I wondered if there was a possibility of perhaps a short update from somebody at our next meeting that would indicate the realities, and whether or not in the assessment of our staff, or even a response now in the assessment of our staff, as to whether that is due to the way the questions were asked in the census, as opposed to the realities of the situation, because it doesn't appear to add up to me. So it would be good to have something on that in the future as an item for this committee. And if there's going to be, if there is an issue going forward, perhaps we ought to be looking at it in more depth as a scrutiny committee and considering options for going forward. The other matter I wanted to bring up in terms of the forward work programme was that we were given an undertaking that officers would advise that an update on the judicial review would be brought forward when it had been fully considered by officers. That never happened. That could have happened to scrutiny members by email. It didn't happen. And then all of a sudden we have the outcome of those discussions at a cabinet meeting and through cabinet scrutiny without the involvement of this committee. And I just wanted to flag up my concerns about the way that was undertaken and the real issues that's, you know, I think that can cause if we don't properly involve the right people in scrutiny of items. And it's not relevant so much that it was just a consultation. Just a consultation is really very important, and we need to make sure that we do these things properly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Reynolds. Yeah, in regards to Welsh language, I'm happy to take that to officers and get that put on the forward work programme when possible. As regards to the other comments, I think obviously we have had discussions previously regarding this, and your comments have been noted and in regards to that, so thank you. Any other members got any comments on the forward work programme? No? Okay, great. Moving on, agenda item 7. I have no urgent items. And that ends the meeting for today. Thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr, and Merry Christmas to you all. Nadolig llawn I chi gyd. Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.